Good morning, everybody. Welcome. It's starting to snow here in New England. We're pretty excited about that. It's early December. Grandma Shortie is off with the grandkids out doing some Christmas shopping. So I thought I'd take this opportunity just to start our first part of our equipment review, our gear review, and some of the things that we've learned from doing some section hiking, and some of the things that we're going to try on the Appalachian Trail. We'll be leaving to start our thru hike on the 20th of February. People ask us all the time, why are you starting so early? And the simple answer is, we can. We can. Both of us are retired. I retired in August. Grandma Shortie retires in February. And so rather than sitting up here and discovering that George is having an unusually warm winter and spring, why don't we go down there? And that way, if we can jump on the trail and get some miles done early, then we'll do it. If it's really hostile, if it's a snow apocalypse or something, then we'll grab a car and go travel around and wait till the weather clears. And you know why? Because we can. So we're excited about that. We're familiar with the cold. Obviously, we're both born and bred in New England, and we love the cold. Nobody is happier today than Grandma Shortie if she sees snow while Christmas shopping with the grandkids. And tomorrow, we're excited. We're going to head up to Blue Hills and do a little hiking in the snow. And we do snowmobiling and ice fishing. We have a place in northern Maine, about 50 miles south of Katahdin, on an island in the middle of a lake. And so we like the cold. Now, we respect the cold. We know how dangerous it is. But if you want to know what we're afraid of, it's going to be those 95-degree days with 80% humidity in Pennsylvania or something. That scares us. That's something we're not really good at dealing with. So this is our first show today. This is our first introduction to some of the gear we're going to be carrying. Some of the new people that have been plugging in and subscribing wonder what we'll be carrying. And then some of the people that are more gear-oriented, this will be for you as well, as we introduce what we're going to be sleeping in, what we're going to carry. We've used it for some section hikes, and we're going to be using the Triplex by Zpacks. Now, some of you new subscribers or new folks to the Appalachian Trail video world knows that won't realize, they'll think Zpacks has to do with trying to fight a cold or something. No, actually, Zpacks is a great manufacturer out of Florida that we've been carrying their tent with us, and we love it. For those of you who don't know, the Triplex is made out of Dyneema composite fiber, which is huge as in the ultralight and lightweight hiking community because of its strength to weight ratio. In other words, it is so strong and yet it is so light. And we thought it was crazy how much these tents would cost until we started carrying heavier tents, and then we started looking at the advantages of this. It's kind of really a no-brainer at a certain point to think that if you're going to invest money in gear, the most important thing should be what you're hiding in on a stormy night. So this is made of Dyneema. It does not absorb water. It's inherently waterproof, so that if you sweat in the morning, you can shake it off and get the water off it, and you're good to go. It doesn't stretch, so there's nothing worse than putting your tent up and then as the sun comes onto it, it stretches out and everything starts to sag. This remains taut and it remains strong. We've learned some things. One of the things we learned is that when Zpacks makes design changes, they are awesome about dealing with how do you update the tent we already have, because they made some significant changes that we thought. One was in the clip device on the front of the dog houses on the vestibule, and the adding another pull area so that you can get your tent walls out a little bit more taut, and a way to lock your vestibules to keep it down so the wind doesn't flap it. They made those designs, but they also made it so that we could update it. So we're excited about that. So let's get to looking at it. I got some pictures, I got some hacks, I got some exciting things to show you today, and we'll try to help you know what we're going to be staying in. We'll tell you right from the start, there are shelters along the trail every 8, 10, 20 miles or so. They're three-sided wooden structures, and we've stayed in them, and they're okay, but one thing is, I'm going to tell you right from the start, I'm scared to death of mice. Mice just scare the heck out of me. I'm not proud of that, but I'm not going to deny it. They just creep me out. So when the idea of a mouse crawling over my sleeping bag, which happened to Grandma Shortie, it didn't faze her. Me, I would have been out running around in the woods with my hair on fire if that had happened to me, because I don't like them. I'm allergic to them. They make me sneeze. If you got mice in the house, bring me along because I'll find them. So if I have to stay in a shelter, I will, but we would prefer to stay in our own tent. It's our own home away from home. It's a confined space. It's warmer. It's more private, and it's familiar. So as often as possible, we're going to try to stay in our tent. And so that's why we wanted a tent that we could count on, and we think we found that one. We've given it a couple of really good tests, good storms, and we think it works out pretty well for us. And as far as sleeping 3 people, the term triplex is a 3-person tent. I'm not so sure of that. As you know, Grandma Shortie is shorty, and even with her, me being 6 feet, and our gear, it's comfortable. Maybe 2 hikers and a dog and gear would be comfortable. I'm not sure about 3 people, unless you got all your gear and everything outside. And then it may be possible, but boy, you'd have to be really good friends with those 3. And I don't know if I'd want to be at the end of a 5-day stint with no shower with 3 people on this tent on a hot night. That could be a kind of a ripe experience. So let's get to it. Here's a shot of a fairly typical shelter that you see along the Appalachian Trail, and there's nothing wrong with them. They're great. Many of them are well kept, but we're not crazy about them. We'd rather stay in our tent. This is our triplex. It's set up, and as you can see, it's pretty darn roomy inside. It has good airflow through the doors, so we like it. One of the things that people do not like about this style of tent is that it's not freestanding. In other words, you must use your trekking poles to establish the ridgeline. Shorty and I really don't mind that because, quite frankly, if we're not hiking, we're in our tent, and if we're not in our tent, we're hiking. So we haven't found that a real problem, and the weight savings of not having to carry poles is a huge advantage. One of the things that we actually do is use a second set of trekking poles. By using Grandma Shortie's poles on the sidewalls and looping them around those 2 sidewall pullouts, we're able to make sure that the walls of our tent stay out and tight. We use MSR carbon core tent spikes. They are, we believe, one of the, or if not the lightest full-strength tent stake on the market, coming in at an amazing 5.75 grams each. For our end spikes, we use groundhogs because we want a little bit more grip on the ridgeline. If you notice, either end of our tent has what I call dog houses, but they're actually vestibules, and they're an extra storage space with no flooring underneath it, which are great. When we first bought it, they were held open with a toggle kind of switch. It was really awkward to use from the inside. Zpacks improved that and went to this more anchor type design with hooks that clip on so much easier to allow you to get in and out of the tent easily. We also added an extra hook and loop on the outside of the doors to keep them from flopping around in the wind. Zpacks provided those to us for very cheap, and we were able to put them on pretty easily. We also use now a micro line that we've strung across the ridge line inside. There are 2 tiny loops you can tie off to. You're never going to hang anything heavy, but they're great for drying socks. I wish I could tell you where you can find this, but this is a 0.4 ounce REI bag that we found years ago, and it works great. We have added micro line lock guy lines. It's just easier to work with micro line locks than to try to tie knots and make adjustments when your hands are cold. Here's one more look at how we tie our sidewalls off using that second set of trekking poles. We put it down to the shortest height and then simply go from one hook to the other wall hook, and it really makes it a tight wall in case the weather changes in the middle of the night. You can see the difference here as the wall is held out by 2 lines going straight out and secured into the ground. One of the problems you do run into with a tent that's supported by trekking poles and not by their own poles is when you get to a tent platform. Believe it or not, we have our own tent platform in our camp up in Maine. And so we set out to try to figure out how we could set up on a platform without trying to drive screws or nails or anything into the established platforms. So we follow leave no trace principles. So we think we've come up with a pretty good solution. We tested it on our platform, and no platforms were injured in those tests. So I'll show you how we do it. What we did first was get ourselves a package of Snell fish hooks. These are size 6s with the Nile wire, and so we simply took a pair of pliers and cut the hooks off, and then took a file and made sure that they were as dull as could be. I can stick my finger right on the tip of it. After that, we first look on a deck and see if there are available nails left over that we just tie a string to. If not, we can run the hook down underneath the decking or inside between the boards, and actually we can stick a stick underneath that hook as well. So it allows us to get security to hold up the tent without doing any damage. You can see here we've used trekking poles to open up our walls and to keep them nice and secure as well. We've tested this. I can get right out and underneath that board, the overhang, and I've looked underneath it, and it's just the resistance of the string and the pressure of the tent itself that keeps it up. We think this is a pretty good system. It doesn't provide any damage, and although most of the time we'll be setting up here in grass and on nice areas, sometimes we'll have to be up on platforms. So, like I told you, it was getting ready to snow.
And it is gorgeous.
And I told you some nitwit would be happy about it. So, Plodalong and Grandma Shortie here. We're back from Christmas shopping. We put the video up. We got the, had to close, touch the battery there. We're getting wet. We do have, that's everything we know about the Zpacks Triplex. Tomorrow, with snow on the ground, we're heading up the Blue Hills. We're going to test out our new stable traction devices, see how they work. You ready to go?
I'm ready.
Yeah.
Let's go.
We got to go. So hopefully this will be the weather we're going to be hitting in Georgia. So we're excited. So let it snow, let it snow. Hey, if we don't catch you, have a happy holiday, Merry Christmas. And we're going to try to get some more videos out before then. And I think the next one, maybe it will be on what we do tomorrow. What do you think?
Maybe.
You know, see how these work. Watch you fall.
Not me.
Not again, huh? All right.
Catch you
Peace
later.
out, everybody. Catch you later.